we now get to the point of our fireside chat. So we have got two wonderful ladies that I would like to invite up to join me on the stage. That is Keisha Smith-Jeremie, who is the founder and CEO of Sanaia, and also Christine Souffrant Ntim, who is an award-winning Forbes 30 under 30 entrepreneur, a serial entrepreneur, I might add. So please give them a round of applause and welcome them on stage. Welcome. So, as I say, on the left, we have Keisha Smith-Jeremie, who is the founder and CEO of Sanaia, and Christine Souffrant Ntim, who is a serial entrepreneur. So, I was going to read a bio of yourself and what you actually do, but I thought it would be much more entertaining, I say entertaining, or exciting, let's say, to watch a short video about Sanaia.
My name is Keisha Jeremie. I'm a girl from the Bahamas living the American dream as a global head of HR for a Fortune 500 company. My business is Sanaia Applesauce. Every other applesauce company will tell you that if you're not 8 or 80 years old, you shouldn't love applesauce anymore. But what I know as someone who has loved applesauce and been making applesauce for 20 years, you never outgrow your love of applesauce. I created Sanaia. Every ingredient, every flavor, even the packaging has been made with adults in mind. This is not your granny's applesauce. We have 7 exotic flavors: guava, tamarind, lavender pear, ginger, gingerbread maple, blackberry, and hibiscus. And it doesn't stop there. We have apple pie wedges in every single jar, because what we know is adults actually like texture, but what they don't like are pouches. So we've created packaging that adults can actually be proud to carry in public.
So, Keisha, now you're running a business, Sanaia. You also have a full-time job, working for for Tory Birch. You're a wife. You're a mother. Not a mother. Oh, sorry. But how do you manage to juggle all of these roles?
Yes, yeah. So let me just make sure it's on. So first of all, thank you for having me here. It is really exciting to be a part of listening to the successes of a program like this, and I've certainly benefited from similar local programs in New York. But the juggling is constant. What I would say is that Sanaia and the role at Tory Birch are really the two things that I spend 90% of my time doing. I think for most entrepreneurs, you're usually starting off self-funding, which means that you probably have a day job. And I think it just requires being okay with saying no to a lot of other things. And for women in particular, I think that doesn't necessarily come as second nature, but as an entrepreneur, you have to be so guarded with your time and realize how precious your time is, because that's your most valuable asset. And so I think that the ability to juggle has come from my ability to say no to anything that's not relevant to the two of those. Yeah.
Okay, I can understand that. I mean, I struggle to juggle everything at Caribbean Export, and the thought of actually running a business as well. I shudder to think how I would ever be able to make that happen. So, I mean, applesauce, I don't know, I would never have thought of setting up a business doing applesauce. Tell us, so how did this all come about for you?
Sure. So one, as the video said, I have been someone who has loved applesauce for 20 years. But then in the last, when I launched the product in 2017, or I should say when I had the idea to launch it in 2017, at the time I was the global head of HR at News Corporation, and as part of that role was part of the acquisition committee. And so I was able to hear lots of pitches from entrepreneurs as we were deciding different assets to purchase. And it gave me a sense of what is required for an emerging brand, a challenger brand, to really have impact in a category that seems already saturated. And the biggest thing is around creating a daily habit. If you are able to create a new daily habit for consumers, you essentially can create a new market or disrupt a market. I had an inkling around applesauce when one day I had packets of Go-Go Squeeze in my fridge because I was buying applesauce in pouches. And a friend came over with her kids, and they opened the fridge, and they said, "Oh, my God, you have kids." And I was like, "No, that's mine." And it made me realize that the applesauce industry had really very decidedly focused on kids. And it didn't mean that other adults weren't eating it, but it certainly meant we weren't eating it in public. And so I felt like there was an opportunity there. I did a lot of research and realized that the yogurt category in the U.S. looked like the applesauce category, 10 years ago, before the introduction of Greek yogurt, Chobani and Fage, which we now just take as, second nature, because they came to dominate the yogurt market. But if you think back a decade ago, it was Dannon, maybe one or two others. It was a very sleepy category. And so being able to see the parallel between a sleepy category can be revived if you focus on adult consumption habits. And so that's why, when you hear the description of applesauce, the applesauce that I've created, it's really all around taking a product that today feels very much like it's for kids and turning it into something that adults, because adults and women in particular, as you said, they are the ones who have the purse strings. And so if you create a product that women in particular and adults enjoy, you then have an opportunity to create a new daily habit.
Okay. So, you started off making applesauce at home.
I did.
For friends, family.
Yep.
I think there's a lot of women in the room that could probably recognize that trait of doing things quite simply at home, first of all. And then you were on Shark Tank. How did you manage to scale up your business to that degree?
So I think the direct connection here around scaling the business so quickly really was because I did have a day job and needed to keep that day job. And so it forced me to think about delegation very early in the process. So one of the very first things that I did was start to look for incubators so that I could really get myself clear on what it takes to scale a business. In the very early days, I was waking up at 3 o'clock in the morning, packaging applesauce, waiting for the UPS truck to come, putting all the boxes together, sending it out. I did that for the first couple of months. And I knew that was not, and then heading to work, right? And I knew that was not sustainable. So having the day job really pushed me to scaling and to delegation, and it just wasn't an option to continue in that way. I think for a lot of entrepreneurs, sometimes if you don't have that push, you might hold on to every aspect of it. And certainly with food production, whatever is the unique aspect of your product, you want to stay close to that. But it's a limiting factor unless you're able to trust that that product can be replicated by other people and eventually by machinery if you really want to, grow at scale. So I'm grateful that I didn't have the option of continuing to do it by myself.
Okay, so talk us through that process then of, I guess recording everything, or being able to an extent relinquish some of the control as well.
Yes. A big piece of this, particularly in food production, is around getting what we call a co-packing partner. And what you learn very quickly in this space is that depending on where you're the expert, you want to essentially figure out for yourself as the entrepreneur, what's your best and highest purpose in your company. Often we think it's in the creation of the product, but usually those are things that are commodities. Someone else can create the product. They can create it faster, cheaper, and that's a really good thing. So you want to seek out partnerships of people who've done this before. They've worked at scale. They've worked out all the kinks. And so the co-packer, finding a co-packer for me was what enabled me to be able to, go to Walmart and Amazon and Whole Foods. You can't do that if you are still the person producing it. So I think it just depends on what your aspiration for your company is, but if your aspiration is scale, then you have to get comfortable relinquishing. And it's actually the best thing for you, yeah.
Okay. And so, I mean, when you're relinquishing control, you're scaling up your business, how technical do you need to be? I mean,
yeah.
You're about to do a launch, right?
Yes. So we're going to be in 800 Walmart locations this summer, which is really big. Yeah. Yep. And that comes with a lot of trepidation, a lot of nervousness when you finally get the big thing that you were going after. But from a technical expertise, it's less about my technical expertise, and I think what I've learned distinguishing my day job, where I am a subject matter expert as the global head of HR, when you're the CEO, you don't need to know everything, but you need to know how to figure everything out. And it's a very different distinction that you have to get comfortable with. Every day I say, I've learned as a CEO that I start my day with a list of all the things that I need to find out. Whereas in my day job, every meeting that I go into, I'm counted on to be the subject matter expert in the room. And for a lot of entrepreneurs, that can feel uncomfortable to have so many people around you who know more than you do about your business. I'm not a chef. I'm not a supply chain, subject matter expert. So, but I think my talent is being able to have great judgment around building great teams. And frankly, trusting that what I bring to the table is unique and not replicable. It allows me to hold my own even around people who have, years in this space.
Okay. So, and it's interesting when we talk about the technical side of things. I mean, I've been on your website. It looks fantastic.
Thank you.
I know that there's a number of women over in here that have got their own websites. As you know, that we are doing some technical assistance to support firms in developing e-commerce and so on. But, technology is scary.
It's critical.
It is very scary.
Yep.
And that really leads me to introduce Christine, who is our tech expert, our guru in technology. Christine is a serial tech entrepreneur, and we have a short video that I would like to show you.
When we first came up with the idea of Vendetti, no one wanted to listen to us. Not one investor wanted to take the chance. My name is Christine Souffrant. I'm the founder of Vendetti. The idea of Vendetti came about because I grew up among street vendors from Haiti. About 2 billion people live in poverty and have to sell on street markets to survive, but can't access global consumers. So Vendetti is on the premise of, for the first time, a street vendor from Haiti to Ghana to Morocco could upload photos of their product online via mobile and wait for a traveler to purchase and pay via SMS. I am the first American born in my family, but all the women in my family were street vendors. So my great-grandmother literally used to sell candy in the village. My grandmother picked it up and started selling food in street markets in Port-au-Prince. And my mom, who was the first to immigrate to the US, she couldn't find a job, so literally she did what she knew best, lay a blanket out in Columbus Circle, Manhattan, and started selling street art from Haiti. So last year, I took a leap of faith. I quit banking and started the idea literally off a blog, how to digitize street vending. We make 20% commission on these sales, so the majority of the profits goes back to the vendors, which is the point of Vendetti in the first place. With our business model, we could scale to as much as $33 million a year, just with the mobile vending marketplace. I just want the paradigm shift to adjust. I want people to understand that the next wave of products, the next wave of stories, the next wave of innovation is gonna happen in emerging markets. We're not gonna look at these places as places of pity, but places of opportunity. Thank you, and please support my business.
The question that you asked at the end, it was somebody invested in my business. So what happened? Because that was that was quite a while ago, right?
I actually got moved just seeing that video. I mean, that was 4 years ago, actually.
Yeah, so the question was like invest in my business. I actually was, I'm not sure if you ever heard of Shivas Venture. It's a $1 million competition where they select an entrepreneur to represent each country. It's kind of like the World Cup of Entrepreneurship. And I was representing the USA and Haiti to an extent. And pretty much, I didn't get the investment. And I remember that was the last time that I said I would invest in front of an investor to showcase the value of my business. Because at that time, you have to understand, in our markets, when it comes to the Caribbean and Africa and parts of emerging markets, our problems are not relatable to Western markets. Our products, our services, our content is not the same in those markets. And we try so hard to fit the mold of Western markets that we sometimes lose focus on what really matters. And we lose that focus. And I realized, if I'm going to succeed with this business, I need to think creatively about first of funding, support, and how to reposition what this product is, and also the value of the product and the people I represent. So that was the last time I actually competed for, investment, the traditional sense. But what I did learn, if you could see from how I presented it there, I have a power of speech and presentation because I believe in my people and I believe in my background. I'm Haitian American. I'm say Haitian for any Haitian in the room. And, when it comes to, places like Haiti, it doesn't have the best representation globally. And so I said, I could present not only the story of my business, but the story of my people. Because the most powerful thing you have as an entrepreneur is not your product. Because there are 7 billion people living on the world. There's at least 10,000 or 20,000 different businesses selling the exact same thing that you're selling. But your DNA is your story, is your journey, is your mouth, is your is everything. And so I presented my story as a street vendor, and that's what changed the game. So within 6 months, I spent, 2.5 years, and I couldn't get one of investments. In 6 months, because I presented my story and competed for competitions, I raised $250,000 in 6 months. So that's what I did, yeah.
Wow. I mean, in 6 months, to manage to raise that amount of funds is quite phenomenal. Now, so where are you now? Vendetti was your first business, let's say, and now you run the world's largest, or the world's first global startup ecosystem, digital ecosystem. Tell us a little bit more about that.
Yeah, absolutely. So Vendetti is still running. I have a complete team that's managing that. We actually pivoted our business model. That's another thing. Don't be married to your business model. Sometimes your business plan just hits the fan when you meet your first customer. So trust what the market friction is telling you. It actually tells you what you need to do with your business. So instead of being a marketplace for SMS, we became a directory for street markets. So you probably heard Yelp and restaurant directories. When you travel to any country, you can find all the top restaurants in that country because they have brick and mortar. But usually you cannot find the best street markets. Like if I'm going to Bridgetown right now in Barbados, or Port-au-Prince in Haiti, or another part of Guyana, how would I find these street markets? So now we're the largest database of street markets in the world. So if you're traveling to a country, you can find the street market and actually purchase locally and have something unique. And so that business, accelerated so quickly. By 2016, I made the Forbes list. So I was one of the 3 Haitians that made that list alongside Jason Derulo from Haiti. And also in that year, we actually became a business case study for Harvard Business School, where now entrepreneurs around the world in business schools are learning how we were able to build this business. And so that fast forward to, I was able to meet my lovely husband, and that's the Ames. And, love changes everything. Where in that year, we moved fast as a family. He was from Ghana, I was from Haiti. We had a big background about, how do we marry technology and our businesses together, because he was also an entrepreneur. Got pregnant with my first child, and prior to launching Vendetti, I traveled a lot to kind of build a global campaign around street markets. And during my pregnancy, no one wanted to listen. There were times where I was a speaker at an event, pregnant and all, and the person would tell me at the registration desk that I'm in the wrong place. So for any mothers in the room, I'm sure, balancing being a wife, a mother, an influencer, an entrepreneur, you have 20,000 hats, before you even wake up. And so it was a very difficult year. And one thing I learned that year was
You don't have to fight for every single thing when it comes to building your business. The most powerful thing that you have in addition to your story is your ability to learn. So that year I actually sat down and took a step back and stop trying to take things personally, because sometimes when you get a lot of rejections and a lot of disrespect, especially as a female entrepreneur, you will internalize that. And I realized the bandwidth mentally that I spent trying to internalize someone's opinion of me because of their shortcomings when it comes to understanding women was not the way to go. So I actually learned how to code. I learned on Code Academy, YouTube, and usually when you have a target goal, like my goal was I wanted to build my website. You're able to learn faster and not think theoretically about what you're learning and actually learn creatively very quickly. So I built my first website that year, and that's what made me successful with Vendetti. And I realized I could teach people what I learned. And so what I did is I coded a website called CaribbeanStartups.com. Right? Because again, I was very passionate about the Caribbean market, and I think that we need to teach entrepreneurs in this region that, you need to be able to actually export your talents digitally to the world. Because there was a huge movement, as you could tell, that everything is digital and tech is really transforming how industries are taking. Fast forward, that day when I coded the website, I thought maybe 20 companies will, apply to do the program. I slept the next morning. You wouldn't believe how many companies applied. You wouldn't guess. It was 500 companies from around the world that we accepted a week later. And those companies applied from the Caribbean, Africa, Europe, and all different parts of the world. So that year, I pretty much launched the world's first digital accelerator, where I accepted 500 companies from 63 countries to literally come online to learn entrepreneurship and the basics of building your product online, where I was a teacher. And so now, fast forward to today, now that is now the largest accelerator program in the world. We actually accept 1,000 companies across 90 countries each year. And we work with IBM, Google, Facebook, Amazon Web Services, all the biggest brands, to provide about 300,000 in business credits to build your company, but also the training where you're part of this accelerator program, not only every year, but for life. And again, it goes back to me taking the time of saying, like, you know what, let me look at my balance sheet. If I can't raise the money I need to actually do the marketing campaign, hire a person to be my admin, hire a person to do this, I can learn each line item in my budget sheet. And that's what I did. So I learned copywriting. So now I know how to hack, marketing online on Facebook. I learned coding so I could build my website. I learned the basics of admin so that way I could, really build up a team. So now when I hire people, I don't have to do it anymore because I know what to find. So sometimes we are moving so fast as entrepreneurs, just learn the basics. And you see that the time it took you getting frustrated to find that support, you could half that time and just learn it online for free and then be able to accelerate your business. So that's what I did to get to where I am now, where I now host the world's largest digital accelerator on the planet.
Fantastic. That is really, really very impressive. I feel somewhat inadequate right now, but but it's great. I mean, it just shows what is really possible once you put your mind to it. As you say, once you've got a goal, you both of you ladies knew exactly what you wanted to do. You put your mind to it, you knuckled down, and you got on with it. But there was a couple of things there that you mentioned. When it comes to obviously dealing with those knockbacks, dealing with those knockbacks and so on. I mean, Keisha, you've also been a coach. Yep. You've been an executive coach. As you would have heard from Caritha, we also had a coaching program as part of the WE-Xport. And so I'd actually like to invite a couple of the ladies that were part of the program to come and join us on stage. If I could invite Grace Foster-Reed and Tiriba do Nascimento to come and join us. So as you would have heard, are we okay? As you would have heard earlier, actually, Grace is the owner of Eco Farms. Eco Farms is a honey producer. They manufacture honey from Jamaica. And Tiriba also owns her business, which is called Membet. And she hand makes and manufactures a range of handbags and accessories. So please tell us, Grace, tell us about your experience with WE-Xport.
Okay. Good night, everybody. So I had been involved in a couple of programs out of the US for women entrepreneurs that were targeting women in Latin America and the Caribbean. When I started WE-Xport, actually, the interviewing process was fabulous. When I spoke to, it was Roberta, and who else? Who else interviewed me? Cora, yeah. I really felt like, I felt safe. When we came to the Access to Finance program in Barbados last year, May, what struck me was that I thought I was coming for information about finance and about mentorship, but the relationship with the woman, it was fabulous. Right away, I felt like I was with sisters, right? I felt like I had a new family, because what happened is that entrepreneurship is really a lonely space. On a Friday evening like today, everybody's worried about how do you pay your workers. But right away, I had a family, women who I could share with, women who I could be vulnerable with. The highlights of WE-Xport was not where I thought it would have been, right? It was about the relationship that we formed with the woman. After Barbados, I gave a very bad evaluation to the presenter. I tore him apart. But then he became one of my biggest stakeholders. That was unexpected. My coach, as I said, she helped me with my Starbucks order. I mean, to bring that from 95% to 100%. And of course, my TA is about getting me ready for export in terms of having a system in place. WE-Xport wasn't all just about being happy though. We were guinea pigs. We fussed, we argued, and we complained. And yesterday we actually sat with WE-Xport and we told them to shred. But they said, we heard you, and we're going to do something about it. So Joanna, if you would allow me to say, this should not be the last experience. You have many other women in the Caribbean who could benefit from this. So I'm asking your stakeholders to use that as an example, but to have an even greater benefit next year. I think I'm done now.
Fantastic. Thank you very much. And you know, it's great to hear the feedback, good and bad, I must admit, because it gives us an understanding. It helps us to, as I say, to do a better job and to be able to support you. I'm just going to talk to you a little bit about your business, about the honey as well, because there's an interesting picture there of the beekeeping. Is that you there in the middle?
Oh, yeah, I'm the queen bee there in the picture.
I mean, you had an interesting story about how you started your honey business.
Okay, right. So I'm, believe it or not, I'm an MIT-trained engineer, and I live in a small town called Mandeville. It's very small by Jamaican scale, called Mandeville. And I had a really wonderful job, traveled the world, did so many things. But when they had a recession back in 2008, it affected bauxite mining because nobody was traveling on planes anymore as much. Aluminum production went down, and I lost my job. And I must say that many of the other women started from the same position, desperation. I was desperate. I didn't want to really leave my children and go to get another job someplace else. And I had a near-death experience on a bicycle. But what took me back, what brought me back to this world, was that I had a vision to create 100 jobs. And that's how I started. I mean, I just knew that because I was educated, I had an educated husband, but without a job, we were desperate, we were hungry. And I thought, what about people who don't have an education and a family? How do they do? So I felt it was my responsibility to use my brains, to innovate, and to create jobs.
Tariba now. Tariba is from St. Lucia, and she produces a range of bags and accessories, handmade. So tell us, you were part of the WE-Xport program as well. What was the highlight for you?
Well, first and foremost, the highlight for me was actually being chosen in the first place, because remember, I wasn't part of the initial 20. And then I got a call, and they were like, hi, we have a space. Can you come to Barbados tonight? And I was like, wow, but no. Because, I mean, I have 2 kids. I have a business to run. I can't just ups and leave. And then, thought it over and then spoke to my mom and begged, Mom, take my children on the weekend. And she agreed. And at least the very next morning, I was able to come to Barbados. I remember when the application came out and I looked at the thing and I was like, I never qualify for this. To be totally honest, I felt like it was out of my league. I did not take the application seriously. When I was not chosen, I was not surprised. I remember the diagnostic tool. I remember it vividly. I dreamt of it. I had nightmares. And I remember thinking to myself, boy, I am not ready, because definitely it shows you the gaps and everything that I needed to do. It was a huge eye-opener. And it's funny, between the time when I did the diagnostic tool and when I was not chosen, and then when I was chosen, I had made so many changes to my business because I was able to see, Tariba, you forming the fool here, get your act together. So, I mean, even that process, even before everything started, was like, okay, I know where I need to be. Fast forward to the very first day, I missed a day. I did feel like an outsider for quite a bit, even after we left Barbados. And I said that to a few people who in the group who I knew from before. Even in the group chat, I still felt like I wasn't as connected as the others, because honestly, I didn't know half people's names, the faces, everything, and all of that. And it did take me some time to proper warm up. I remember being at the training at the beginning thinking, I know exactly why I wasn't chosen in the first place, man. These women are brilliant. They are amazing. Oh my God, I am totally out of my depth and out of my league. But then when you get to know people and then people get comfortable with each other and you understand really what's going on and then you have these honest conversations, you realize how our struggles are really the same. Our struggles are the same. It is so hard. St. Lucia has a population of 180,000 people. If I do not export, my business cannot. It just can't. Just end of story. I'm not selling fish. I'm not selling food, right? There are only so many handbags a local lady will and can buy. It's the bottom line. I am not selling a need, I'm selling a want in an affordable luxury market with a lot of competition, with people of the mindset that it's better to go to, Ross Dress for Less and buy a Michael Kors on sale and come down and be like, my sister sent it for me from foreign. This is what I'm contending with. There are so many parameters that I have to deal with that is even beyond the scope of WE-Xport. But with a program like WE-Xport that will allow for the other things that I've been worrying about to go through seamlessly, like finally getting my damn website. You know what I mean? Getting a business coach who's actually a fashion person, which is so important because there is nothing more annoying than somebody who is like the greatest business person but knows nothing about fashion to come and try and give me advice, because they are so out of touch, because fashion is just such a different kettle of fish. That for me was like, whoa. My fashion coach and we hit it off and everything was just like click. Everything made so much sense. So it was just like, gave me a lot of food for thought. And he is also from, the grand scale of things, where he's from the Dominican Republic, I believe. He's not American to say. So he, in his own way, is in a small place, trying to be a big fish. He's a small fish in a big pond sort of thing. So he kind of understood my grievances and what I was dealing with. So that was very, 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 very helpful for me. But for me, the most exciting part of all of it was the TA. I could not wait. I'm very happy with my TA. Hi, TA. My TA is there. I just think the TA he gets it. I think I don't even need to say 1 and 1 plus 2. By the time I say 1, he's like +1 equals 2. I think he understands his vision and everything. And I just feel like this is so much of what I needed now. I've gone through the product development. I've done the training on the lookbook and the mood board and the all of it and the finishing. I went to Italy to train. I've trained my staff. I have my business. I have all of that. I just need people to see me. That's all I need. I just need people to see me and say, hey, this girl, this is what I have, and this is good. And we can all share my love of fashion in my vision. It's okay that you're from Alaska and it's cold, right? And you want a nice bright bag on a winter day. It's okay. And I just need to be seen. And I think this is what I'm going to get out of this, because that was just like the gap that I was missing. So I don't have a big success story as yet. I reached the wall. Well, for me, it would have been like maybe the Macy's or like the fancy boutiques in LA. I haven't gotten there yet.
But you're on the road.
But I am on the road, and I have been furnished with the tools that I need to be seen the way I need to be seen. So that's all I'm missing. I mean, I don't have a day job, right? And this is a big sore spot for me. I don't have a day job. I have the same story. I didn't quit. I didn't lose my job. I quit, right? And I was working in the NAO's office in St. Lucia. Yes, I had SFA 2007, SFA 2008, the hospital equipment. Can you imagine? The contracting for that. I had some big multi-million-dollar projects dealing with. And I left all of that to do these bags. And every time my children ask me for something, and I have to say, guys, I don't know. It hurts me because I was able to do it. And I'm like, boy, I have to see how. Sorry. I have to see how this is affecting my kids and my family for my dream. And it's going to reach a point where I'm going to have to get into reality and be like, listen, my kids need what they need, and I can't do this much longer. So this program came at the right time because I was very much near quitting. But now I have something to look forward to. Sorry for making you cry.
I don't know if there's a dry eye in the room right now, but we're all in this kind of really together. I mean, the emotion, what it means to everybody, we can see it all on everybody's faces. Everybody's doing their utmost, their very best, and they are trying to provide for themselves, for their families, and for a lot of women, it is more than a business. It is more than just making money. It is really something that you invest your life, your heart, your soul into. And I'm just blown away by everybody in this room right now.
And everyone felt that.
Yeah.
Everyone felt
completely.
that and supported you.
Completely. Sorry, excuse me. So, Christine, now you're the tech guru here, and I know there's a lot of business out here that, they're looking to really leverage technology. As Teresa was saying, she wants people to see her. She wants her bags to get everywhere. How do we really go about doing that?
So how do you go about leveraging technology? I think step one is redefining what you know about technology. Technology is not just AI, not blockchain, not space tech, not all the high tech that you see, because I think people need to understand it's not about being a tech company, it's about being tech enabled, right? And that's the most important thing to understand, is having a better understand what we mean by technology. So that starts with having a website. That starts with having an email that's accessible, right? Because a lot of times, culturally speaking, usually we give just our phone numbers. Phone numbers are not usually 24/7. An email, it could sit there and you could reach out back to someone and have a two-way street engagement. So really transforming your definition of technology is very important. Second, one thing that I wanted to address, I know with the Caribbean Export Agency, I've read so much about it, and I've always admired the Caribbean export agency for years now, especially as someone who grew up in Haiti and understand the premise of export. The islands, as stated before, by population, we need to automatically think from a business mindset of international. We live in the digital age. Export is not just physical, it's now digital. Let me repeat that again. Export is not just physical, it's also digital. And this is a very important thing to take away, because keep in mind, there's now a digital economy. And so when you're trying to export your business, you're also exporting your story and you're exporting your expertise. Some people forget that sometimes you could teach your knowledge, your background, your story, and monetize that. So for example, you have a fashion expertise to even build those bags. You could actually start doing a series and say, let me teach people how to actually do a fashion line brand from our St. Lucia perspective. And you can monetize and build a brand of that. Sometimes your brand is more powerful than the product itself. Because sometimes you have the better product, but if the person has a bigger brand, because of technology, they outcompete you. Right? And so redefining your understanding of technology, and sometimes it's very simple steps. It starts with your mindset, which is why I wanted to start with mindset framing and understanding technology. That's the nice part. The second part is the work, right? One thing is to know the mindset of what technology means, to be tech-enabled. Now, what do you do with that knowledge? I stated this before, right? Where do you learn how to be tech-enabled and be tech-savvy, to understand how to build a website, get that email, get that branding, understand that social media is not, oh, I don't like Twitter or Facebook or Instagram, maybe I'll do a Facebook. If you look at CNN, BBC News, and all these different MSNBC, think of that each social media is like a different TV channel, right? If you know how to really make sure that you have a presence across all those media channels today while it's free, because keep in mind, it's not going to be free for long, right? Before, Facebook was organic. Now you have to pay to get visibility on Facebook. So you got to catch up with the times and not say that because you feel like you don't understand technology is not for you, or, which is worse, try to hire someone to figure it out for you. When you're a business owner, like you said, you got to learn all the basics and let everyone accelerate with it. So with that said, learn online, learn on YouTube, learn on Code Academy. And the final thing I would say is leverage programs from people that understand your problems. As stated before, I'm the founder of the Global Startup Ecosystem. Each year we have an accelerator program for free, and I welcome all of you. Automatically, I will say this, and this is something that I could give back to my community here. If you apply to globalstartupecosystem.com, our digital accelerator program, you are automatically accepted for being a part of this program. Just submit your application, okay? And I say that's because I started that business because I was frustrated that as entrepreneurs, a lot of times you have to pay for support and pay for services. This program came to many of you at a time when a lot of us needed it, right? And this accelerator program, as stated, is a digital program where it goes through product marketing, finance development, how to fundraise without having to do the basics, right? Learning how to tell your story, the art of pitching, learn the art of the ask and not just the art of just pitching, right? Branding yourself. We teach all that for free every single year, and that's one thing I would say. And second, be immersed in your ecosystem, the resources. That's the final thing I would say that you have. We complain a lot about our ecosystem and say that we're not like America, we're not like Silicon Valley, we're not like Europe. Silicon Valley should not be your destination. We need to look at markets like look at us. What is happening in Haiti? What is happening in Jamaica? I love that the Ministry of Foreign Affairs just said, look at Guyana. We need to look at markets that look like us because they have the similar problems so we could cross-pollinate each other. As stated before, I'm Haitian. Haiti, if you don't know this right now, have you ever heard of Haiti Tech Summit? It is the largest tech conference in the Caribbean. 1,000 people from around the world travel to Haiti, and we're leveraging tech to accelerate Haiti to be the #1 tech hub in the Caribbean and in the world. And we did that within 3 years, just through technology. So this is the power where tech enables individuals, it enables businesses, it enables ecosystems, and you need to be prepared to take that all in. So it starts with, again, know your worth and leverage technology to learn these skill sets, leverage your community here, leverage these resources, and also be empowered to understand that it's not about being a tech company, it's about being tech-enabled. And that starts with very basic steps that each one of you, because you are here, you're already dynamic. So don't psych yourself out of it because you already are a powerful entrepreneur and an influencer, and you need to leverage and understand that first and foremost. And that's what I would say. Yeah.
Thank you very much indeed. I mean, there's a lot to take in, I'm not going to lie. But I also, I want to go back to Keisha, actually, because one of the things that we mentioned earlier on is that, you know, you got that exposure on Shark Tank.
Yep.
And for everybody, as Christina was saying, you know, you want to get money into your business, some investment, and we always think that once we get that money, it's going to make everything okay. But tell us about your story about Shark Tank.
Yep. So anyone who has seen the episode, it's funny that you mentioned it, only because I ended up in tears quite unexpectedly on the episode when they started asking. Somehow the conversation turned to why wasn't I giving up my day job. And I started to talk about the fact that I support a lot of people in my family and my extended family. And so, one, I just want to say to you, there's not an entrepreneur anywhere who has not cried, both in public and in private. So that's why we were all touched, and in no way, shape, or form are you not alone in feeling it is, I don't have kids, but it feels like you are birthing something into the world. So we all understand that moment that you had. But in terms of the financing, so I was on Shark Tank and received an offer from Mark Cuban for 20% of the business. And after the episode, after we taped the episode, I had lots of conversations with him about the valuation, what that would have meant if I had given up 20% then at that point. And so later decided not to accept the money, which in the beginning is so hard to say no to funding that's right there. But what I had to really get clear with myself on is, did I really believe that the business was going to be as big as I projected it to be? And if I did, I wouldn't want to give up 20% of the company for $150,000. And to your point, it is on every Friday when you're trying to figure out, is everybody going to get paid? Not you, but everybody else. That $150,000 is, very hard to walk away from. But this is where that belief in yourself and in your ability to create something even bigger has to take over. So I turned that down after, and then I raised $500,000 on my own. So which enabled me to keep more of the company and to keep actually Mark as an advisor to the company without taking on the funds. What I've learned from raising money and getting comfortable with raising money, growing up in the Caribbean, I grew up in the Bahamas, and certainly with that mindset of not having debt. But as an entrepreneur, you've got to get comfortable with the fact that your business can't accelerate unless you have capital. You have to have capital. And usually, even though I was able to self-fund my business for a portion of the time, when we start getting yes from Whole Foods and a yes from Walmart and other places, what I realized is that I would be holding the business back if I only allowed it to grow at the rate that my savings would allow it to grow. And that would have not been the right thing to do for the business. And so I have taken on capital, and we now need to raise $2.5 million to keep up with the levels of production that we've committed to. But I bring up this story only to say that it's a mindset. It goes back to the mindset shift too around how you are in your personal kind of responsibility around money, paying bills on time, and when you get into a business mindset, you have to think about capital quite differently. And sometimes our hesitation to let others invest in the company can keep our businesses small. It keeps us playing on that micro level. So it's something that I've gotten comfortable with, but I'm always making the calculation, is this something that, is there an opportunity that I'm giving up because I'm hesitating to take on investment? One of my advisors said to me, 60% of $1 billion is better than 100% of, nothing. And sometimes that's the calculation you have to be making in your mind. A lot of times you're like, I want to hold on to all of my company. Well, you might end up holding on to something that's quite small because you've not taken advantage of how quickly capital can help you scale. Yeah.
Fantastic. I think we've heard quite a bit from all four of you ladies, and I would like to actually open it up for any questions from anybody that's in the room, if there are any questions at all. No?
Don't be shy.
Don't be shy, yeah.
I
Indeed.
saw you guys at the networking prior to this.
And Deirdre, online, are there any questions at all? No questions? Okay. I think, as I say to you, I'd like to thank you all for sharing with us. I think it's been an extremely valuable session here, learning from, starting from nothing, so to speak, and really seeing what is actually possible what is possible for the businesses that people are running. And I am completely inspired by all of you, by all of the ladies that are in the room that are part of the WE-Xport program as well, because you're all doing some tremendous things. And I know you're here for BMX over the weekend, and I sincerely hope that you have a great time. I'm not quite finished just yet, though. It sounds like I'm wrapping up. But as I say, we've met two of the lovely ladies that have been part of the business. But it would be remiss of me not to acknowledge and mention some of the other ladies that are part of the program. As you mentioned earlier on, one of the fantastic things about the program was the relationships that everybody's built with one another. And unfortunately, one of the ladies that was part of the program passed away in January. And so I do want to acknowledge her, Alison Butters-Grant, who was the CEO and owner of Global Seafoods, based in Guyana. Now, Alison passed away in January, as I just mentioned, but she did leave a legacy. Her business is still running and it is still operating. And I just wanted to take a moment just to acknowledge her, because I know that it hurt everybody that was part of the program and that knew her as well. So yeah, please just to remember Alison in our minds there, who was also part of the program. So as we come to an end, as I mentioned, I'd like to kind of just acknowledge all of the women that were part of the program. So I believe we do have a little token. Here's a short picture, if you can remember that, from our photo shoot day when you all met each other here in Barbados for that very initial workshop. So yeah, please give a round of applause for Keisha and Christine. And the other ladies that are part of the program. As I mentioned, I'd like to thank everybody that has come out this evening, and obviously hearing all of your stories, and congratulations to each and every one of you. I believe we're in the kind of the final legs of, it's been a tough year, but you're there. You're doing the last elements of the program, the technical assistance and the BMX this weekend. So obviously just leverage as much as you can out of the experience. And I wish each and every one of you all the success. And thank you very much.